Whether you've edited on Avid or Premiere, you have your original camera files, you have your proxies. Premiere Pro, they stay where they are. In Avid, they've been moved to the media files. There they are in the media files folder. You've got your original DaVinci Resolve project where you did your transcodes. Obviously, my film, your film. And in that project, you've got your original camera rushes. So it would look something like this, I would imagine. Camera rushes, day 1, card 2, day 2, etc. In this particular case, I've only got rushes, the original camera rushes, in this one bin location, but you would have multiple bins, and each one of those would have a sequence with the same name as the bin and your folders in the Finder. So let's bring in our two sequences, one from Avid, one from Premiere. So in sequences here, I'm just going to add a bin just to keep it tidy. That's the Avid bin. And there's the Premiere Pro bin. So let's do the Avid first. So I'm going to go to my Avid bin, File, Import Timeline, Import AF, etc. I'm going to go to my interchange files from Avid, and there's my AAF from Avid. I'm going to open that, and it comes with this window here. Now, we've already got all our camera originals in here. So in this particular case, and there's many different ways you can import an XML or AAF and relink the footage. But because we already have the footage here in the project, we don't need this here. So I'm going to click OK, and it's going to ask me where the rushes live. So I'm going to open that out, go to camera rushes, and in this particular case, you're selecting master and the camera rushes, and it would just search through the camera rushes folder in all these folders here, all these bins rather, and it would dig out all the right files. Okay, so we have our sequence. I know it's the original camera files because I can see that they're really flat. But what's all this? What's the time code here? So this can be a bit confusing. Because I saved the previous project where I did my proxies with the timecode burn-in enabled, it's still enabled in the project now, so I'm just going to go to data burn-in and turn that off. So there we've got our sequence, and this is the one from Avid. In Premiere Pro, do the same thing, File, Import Timeline, and this go to from Premiere Pro to Resolve. There's my XML. Disconnect import source clips. Select the camera rushes folder for the relink. And there's my Premiere Pro edit. So I'll just work from this one from now, but you can see whether you're using Avid or Premiere Pro, when you bring in your XML, don't select import source files because that will bring in the proxies. So deselect that, point Resolve at the camera rushes folder. Resolve will search through these and find the right files. If I just briefly look at edit index here, you can see that in this particular case I haven't renamed the files, renamed the clips in Avid or Premiere, but what it's using is using this real name information to find the right clips. Okay, so let's move our footage from the edit share onto your SSD. So with the sequence selected, go to File, Media Manager. Okay, so this gives you a few different options. This is also used for archiving. So at the end of a project, you can use the copy entire project or timelines or clips, copy to a archive location, or you can move a project, or you can transcode a project. In this particular case, we're just going to pretend we've got a separate drive, your SSD drive. So I'm going to browse to a folder there, and I've got a folder in there called Media Manage. So this is just our pretend SSD drive. So we're copying from Edit Share to the SSD drive. We're just going to copy this one sequence, so it's just going to copy the clips required for this sequence. So if you've got, in this particular case, I've used 2 of the 3 clips I transcoded as proxies. It's only going to grab the 2 camera files that I need. And click Start. It should be fairly quick. That was quick. And if we look in our SSD drive, Media Manage, we've got those 2 files there. Okay, so we've conformed the clips to Edit Share, and now we've used the Media Manager to move only the used clips onto your SSD drive. You've closed down Resolve, you've disconnected yourself from Edit Share, opened up Resolve again, opened up the project, and everything is unlinked because you're not connected to Edit Share anymore. So now you need to reconnect your sequence back to your files, your Media Managed files. And there are a number of different ways of doing this. So I'm going to go through them. I'm going to go through the first one, which I think is probably the simplest. Okay, so if I go to day 1 card 1 here, you can see all my clips are unlinked. So in this particular case, I'm just going to select all of them. I'm going to right click, relink selected clips, and I'm going to go to my SSD drive, the Media Managed folder, and click OK. You see it's found only 2 out of these 28 clips, and that's because in this particular folder, this particular bin, it was only these 2 files that were needed for this sequence. I don't want to do any more searching, so I cancel out of that. And so essentially I go through each of these bins here and do that relink process. Let's undo that. Right, so the next way of doing it is to relink the timeline. So this is my timeline here. Now for this bit to work, you need to select all the clips in your timeline, right click, and you just need to untick this conform lock. If you're doing very, very complex conforms, this enables you to conform to different files and folders, visual effects, shots, things like that. I'm going to take that off. Okay. I'm going to go to my my sequence here. I'm going to right click timelines, and I've got reconform from bins or reconform from media storage. So let's choose media storage. Looks very, very complicated, but essentially you select your Media Managed folder on your SSD drive, click OK, and there we are, we're reconformed. And you can see it's brought the 2 clips in there. Okay, so you need to do a little bit of tidying up. Let's undo that. Okay, we've still got conform block turned off. This time I'm going to reconform from a bin. So what I'll do is bring in my media management, drop it into the media pool. So I've got my couple of clips just there. And now go back to my sequence, Premiere Pro, I'm doing this one here. Now this time I'm going to right click, timelines, reconform from a bin. So last time it's from the media storage, this time it's from a bin. It's doing a very similar job. So I'm going to reconform from the media managed bin, click OK, and there we go. So 3 different ways of relinking to your media managed footage so you can color grade from your SSD drive. Okay, so we've got a sequence. We're going to start color grading. Now in this particular case, even though we were editing on Avid and Premiere and maybe using a mask to create the CinemaScape, in this particular case we want to create a CinemaScape project. So we're going to go to Settings, Master Settings, Timeline Resolution, and I'm going to select DCI Scope 2.39. Now you can see that we've got a DCI Scope project, but you can also see that the original footage is not filling the frame. So we need to go to Settings again, Image Scaling, and Input Scaling here, just change that to full frame with crop. So it's going to take the footage, it's going to fill the frame, and if I go back to the timeline, back to Inspector here, select this clip. It's being a bit slow. That's because it's raw. Turn Transform on, and I can reposition. Reposition in Y. So I've got the framing as I like it. So in other words, we've got material top and bottom which has been cropped out. So now our timeline is set up correctly. There's a bit of a question mark over the 4K because in the free version, which is what I'm using, 4K isn't available, but in EP301 it is available. So from this point onwards, you can start your colour grade. In my particular case, I'm going to do my own D-log. That's just applying an S-curve to it, and from that point onwards, I'm setting my tonal range. Might take a little bit of blue out of the black, because it's a little bit too much for me. But keep the blue in the mid-tones there. I'm working through on colour grading. So at Northern Film School, once we leave Avid and Premiere and go to Resolve, we always stay in Resolve. It's got all the tools we need to finish the film. We've got colour grading, we've got all the normal timeline effects that we might need. If we want to, we can dive into Fusion to do any more complicated visual effects. We've also got access, if we're in RAW, we've also got access to the RAW settings. just here, and we can go through ahead and color grade, and then when we're finished, we can add the audio from sound design, go to deliver, and then we can deliver our master, which will be a ProRes 4x4 master, and then we can create a DCP, and that's it, we're done. And at the end of that whole process, you take your SSD drive, copy all the new media and project files back to Edit Share, and that's us in May, hopefully. So I hope you found these videos useful. I'm going to add these are all going to be added and separated off into the web page. Well, you already know that because you're already there. Anyway, adios.